Hello, YouTube. Today is April 17th, 2020. This is the FFF review, number 343. And if you like this sort of thing, hit that like and subscribe, ring that bell so that you can get notified whenever I post a new video. If you have a comment, leave it in the comment section below, or you can come by twitch.tv/Clowntown 5-6 days a week and come say hi and talk about it. We do this every Friday night right after the FFF drops, and then we'll do like a new player night and kind of look at Reddit and just answer a bunch of general questions. So if you have one of those, make sure you come by. If otherwise, let's get to the video. FFF 343, Environmental Particle Effects by Dom Clonin. Dom. Is that not? I guess that's not Dominic, because I thought Dominic, the person who was working on the fluids, left Woob. Is that the same person? Anyway, might be a different Dom. I don't know. But our good friend Clonin. We know Clonin. Since the particle optimization we did for 322 and the introduction of new explosions on 325, these were really good for biter battles. We were able to push our vision even more. It always bothered me that the grenade and other explosions would emit the same type of particles regardless of the context. Oh, in most cases that was, it wasn't that bad. In other cases, and somewhat okay. In most cases, it isn't that bad and somewhat okay. But when you throw a grenade into water, it still emits the same particle, which breaks the illusion. Okay. Another problem is that we have the nice decoratives on the ground. Do we? I shut those off immediately. And they don't really interact with anything that goes on and can feel like fake flat stickers instead of something real. Okay. So if I have decoratives off, is this going to affect me? You would expect that when there is a mass explosion 2 feet away, the bushes might have some reaction to that. I mean, not my bushes, bro. They're tough. All right, so this is the current explosion in version 18. Specific tile effects. Oh, okay. All right. One thing we wanted some way for tiles to respond to explosions in different ways, the way Pulsilla. Who's reading this anyway? The way Pulsilla decided to add this capability is through the effect trigger. Tiles can define an effect that happens, and the explosion will tell the tile to create that action. Okay. After the implementation of this feature, it was smooth sailing from there. I was able to design explosions like I wanted. Oh, look at there. Disappearing effects on terrain. Okay. Like those decorative rocks. I was able to design explosions like I wanted to emit specific particles based on their tiles. For example, besides the visual improvement of the stone emissions in water, I was able to make the hazard concrete emit dark gray and yellow particles. Okay. This one right here. Oh, okay. Yeah. We kept in mind that people might not want to tint all the new particles for mods, so we kept everything as tintable as possible. So a modder can just use our particle definitions and tweak the tints. For instance, if they want to add purple terrain, it's worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning that the same goes for almost all the new particles: metal, stone, vegetation, blood, gas, glass, etc. Using the same sprites with different tints also helps us save some VRAM. Good. Which is what I care about, because I'm more about performance than the decoratives. As the game applies tint during the render phase. Okay. Decoratives. Pulsilla added the engine changes required to remove the decoratives on impact, and for the decoratives themselves to create some particles on their destruction. This makes it feel much better when you see the explosion, because you see the decoratives reacting as if they were real, and it does not break the immersion of the game. It also helps make the explosions feel a bit more powerful, at least powerful enough to blow over a bush. Alright, so let's watch this again. And go. Oh, okay. Pulled some out of the way. So here we go. The reactions are based on the individual decorative, so each individual decorative will emit a different set of particles. Bushes will emit a grassy vegetation particle. He's going to run back on. Stones will emit stone particles, etc. So we use the same tinting system here, so a brown bush and a green bush will have the same particle sprites, just tinted accordingly. Okay. Throat. There is, of course, a nice benefit of this to a lot of players that now grenades clear the decorative, so you can do some explosive clearing of your precious, pristine factory floors. Yes, that's good. Minimal, no base mod. Okay. Bilka has spent some time in the last month working on a new mod for the game. Well, it's more of a mod that allows the removal of base mod. Oh. It has always been technically possible to run Factorio without the base mod enabled. Anytime you try, you'd hit by a bunch of missing prototype messages. Basically, the game needs to have some sort of minimum amount of prototypes to be defined and are able to launch properly. So Bilka's work will act as a foundation for other mods to build on. Oh, okay. To help modders make a true total conversion mod. Oh. Or just have fun with the raw Factorio engine. Of course, enabling this mod starting the game isn't very fun on its own, right? For more details, check out the detailed forum posts by Bilka. And you can find the project repository there. All right. Cool. This is good stuff. This is going to be really good. This is going to be useful for modders in the future, says Clonin. And the decoratives, this may not affect me too much because I turn decoratives off almost immediately. I'm much more interested in function than form, particularly when it doesn't affect the main game. In a game where, so for example, performance at the cost of function, something like field of view. If you're looking in a game and you want to be able to see as far as possible, but you want better performance, you'll pull your field of vision in, or your view distance in, right? But that means that you won't be able to see as far, and that might affect your gameplay, right? In, say, like a first-person shooter. Or something like there have been some sniper games where an enemy player may hide, duck down in the grass, but if you remove the grass particles, you can clearly see where they're there. So that's an example of where a decorative affects gameplay. In Factorio, decoratives only affect, they don't really affect gameplay. They only just take up, more memory, right? And in some cases, let's see, can I pause this GIF? No, I can't. If you look at the decoratives here in this one, a player may mistake those as rocks that the player can dig up for stone. So in a speed run, if I see 6 rocks over here and 5 rocks over here, and I think they're all mineable, but only 2 of them are, I may make a different choice and run a different direction and cost myself precious minutes trying to find some stone that I thought was there. So that is why this example right here is why I shut them off for speedrunning, and it just makes it for a little bit better running, because a lot of the bases I build go really big, really quick, and UPS is an issue. So I want to save as much VRAM and as much UPS, FPS as possible. So I shut the decoratives off for better performance, because it does not affect gameplay. This is about the only thing in Factorio that'll affect gameplay, but it's really only in speedrun cases. I can't imagine being super upset about missing out on some stone you thought was there when you're trying to do a 4-week playthrough of a giant mega base. But in a speedrun where you're trying to get after it and the starting stone needs is a big deal, then you want to see exactly where everything is. Anyway, food for thought. overall, good stuff. And the part I like about it the most off is that we are all have VRAM in mind, and we have modders in mind. This is great stuff. So good job. So that's it with the FFF. Let's get over to Reddit. All right, this is the weekly question thread in r/Factorio for April 17th, 2020. Just go through here and answer some of these questions. Here we go. Roars asks, did anyone ever manage to port Factorio over to the PS Vita? I don't no idea. I don't even know what that is. Is that PlayStation? I have no idea what that is. Vandalaz says, got some RoboPorts around my base and the personal RoboPort. Often I'll place down ghosts and have the materials on my character, but the personal RoboPort won't activate. Instead, the construction bots are in my RoboPorts will go off and get the materials and place them. Is there a way to make my personal RoboPort the priority? They should have the priority. It probably depends more on your robot count and the instruction count, right? Yeah, n/A has the right answer here. He says probably if you put down 100, if you have 50 bots and you put down 200 instructions, then the other 150 instructions will be assigned to others, right? What is a Baggins 55 says, is it worth lining my outer wall with RoboPorts for automated repairs or not? Okay, so this is always a good question. Often, if you're, it's not bad, but you need to have the ability to push more robots there, because what will happen is wave of attack, a spitter goes off and hits a laser gun, right? Or hits a gun. Your bot flies over and is repairing the laser gun, and the second spit comes over and hits your robot, and your robot dies. So the robots act as the first responders, and the first responders often get caught in the crossfire trying to repair the robots. So it's not a bad thing. In fact, we've seen that at the highest level in the biter battles, but they had a fresh set of bots being automated and pushed to the front lines. So you just have to be confident that your bots are going to be replenished, and you have to be ready to replenish your bots. But otherwise, it's a good strategy. I've done this several times myself. And what I might suggest also doing is kind of making your RoboPorts pretty far away from the guns. In fact, at the very, 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 very edge, as far away as you can get it. That way the guns have the most time they can possibly have to kill off the biters before they're repaired. And that way the robots will take some time to go exit the RoboPort, fly over, and start repairing. And then so that all the biters are, so the way it should work is the biters start attacking, the lasers are doing their thing, the gun takes damage, the bot pops out of the RoboPort and starts to travel over, and then by the time the robot gets there, all the biters are already dead, and then it repairs and it comes back. No harm, no foul. So yes, very, very good strategy. But you got to watch it, and the good news is that you'll get an audio cue, the default bleep beep. You'll get that when you lose a robot. So you should be what you'll be losing. You won't be losing guns, but you'll be losing robots. But you will get that audio cue. Good strategy. I recommend it. Need more quick bars, says the derp train. How do I do this? Yeah, options, interface settings. You can do that. I think you can. You can just drag that up, and I think you can have up to 0 through 10. You can have up to 10 of them. I should probably start playing with 3 of them, because I find myself crowded with just 2 bars, the default 2. So I need to think about doing that, especially on a more complex mod like I'm playing through now, Factorio. So if you have some of those mods that have more tools and more things that you're going to need to pull out of your inventory, more so than vanilla, then maybe that's a pretty good good suggestion. I may try this next time. Good question, Derp Train. Okay, B-1 asks another question. Is it possible to automatically respec an assembly machine using the circuit network or bots? There isn't, but there's a mod to do that. So, no. You got to do that manually. That'd be pretty neato if you could. Your mall... Oh, your mall would be pretty neato. You could have your mall switching over and... based on your need in the network, you could just set some circuits there and have your mall go click, 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 and I'll switch over to gears if you need gears, and then click back to the standard set and click over. That would be neato. I see where his head's at. That's an interesting suggestion. Hairlock says, "Hi everyone." Well, hi Hairlock. Hairlock? I have a fairly simple question. I'll be the judge of that, mister. I just started Factorio, was playing a mine industry prior, and Mindustry. And one thing missed from that game is the fact that the robot you play builds stuff on his own once you laid out the blueprint. I don't really fancy to go fetch stuff in your inventory every 5 seconds. Is there a mod that could fix the auto-build stuff I provide if I had the resources? Yeah, I think you can tech up to. I think I don't know Mindustry, but once you've laid out the blueprint, that sounds like you need to tech up to get bots, and then bots build the blueprint. So you can eventually, if he's just started Factorio, he's probably not teched up to bots yet, but the bots do exactly that sort of thing, where you get some good armor and some good roboports and bots in your inventory, and then you can hit the button and your bots will build stuff for you. You can paste blueprints. Yeah, or maybe what he's saying is requesting these bots be moved up to early game, and there's a couple of mods to do that. I think we played with one called Nanobots, which you have to make the bots, and once they're used, they're consumed, they're gone. So anyway, I think it's just a matter of time and pressure. You'll get there. Gramatar. I feel like I'm getting bored of playing with my own set of mods. Can people give me some suggestions? Yes. Gramatar. Factorio 2 is a great one. I'm playing through that now. Bob's and Angels. Pyanodons if you hate yourself. Factorio Extended is really good. Bunch of warehouse and mini loaders and lots of good mods out there. Go check out some streamers that are doing some playthroughs. Industrial Revolution is really good. Bunch of good ones. There's lots of folks, lots of them that people like, that can either dampen the curve, like Industrial Revolution kind of makes you spend more time in the coal burner type of phase, but prior to getting up there, or you can get some really advanced stuff like C block and space exploration and all kinds of good stuff where it really does extend the end game. So lots of good stuff out there, man. James Keenan says, I have another question. Well, James Keenan, you're running through your questions really fast, buddy. We're getting tired of your questions. I can't say it with a straight face. I've died 6 times in my game. Hang on, I got a sound drop. 5 of them were from trains inside my own base. Yep, a couple I was in my inventory, stopped in the middle of a railroad. My question is, what is wrong with me? Well, James Keenan, are you a streamer named Exterminator? Chiron42 says, why do circuits make no sense? They make sense. You just gotta work at it. They only make sense if you don't make them sense. It's like a computer. It outputs whatever you put in. James Keenan says, read train contents just doesn't work. I have a train on automatic, stopped at the station waiting for walls to be 200. Next step is ideally to drive all my remote bases to deposit walls and their maintenance. Can't get past the first step. I connect the stop to the inserter. To be enabled. No, take it to a chest or something. Chest contents, yeah. Because if you read an inserter, it's only going to probably try and read hand contents or something. You don't, or you got to switch it up to a circuit to read counters and increment a counter. But read chest contents. Don't read the inserter, James. Zaphless agrees. Vote. And look there. You're right. Read train contents. Right. 2 away for best ways to program your splitters. It says highly configurable, if I recall correctly. What do you usually do with them? Usually, my two most common cases I can think of is one, I have 2 lines, and I want to pull from one line first before I pull from the second line. So I set up a splitter, and I input priority on this line. That's number one. So a lot of times I'll have 2 sets of incoming miners, and I want one to go away because I want to put a build there, and I want to clean up this ore patch. That's probably my number one, is pull from this side first. So I'll use a splitter to prioritize inputs from this one. Number 2 is I have a mixed belt, and I want to pull. I have a mixed belt where I have 2 items on the same belt, and I want one to go this way, and I want one to go that way. You throw down a splitter, and you have output filter on the other side, and you filter it off into a chest or something else. Those are the number 1 and number 2, or backwards and forwards, 1A and 1B. The number 1 use cases for splitters is priority pull and filtering out. And look there. Splitting from the main bus and using filters to swap the contents of 2 belts. There you go. That's probably it. Ard Villard says, how do I move crude oil from one storage tank to new ones? A pump, because it's essentially where X is a one-way valve. I have a half-full one in a bad spot and try connecting pipes. The level oil just equalizes. Pump. A pump acts as a one-way valve. It does take power. It does take an engine, and you can't handcraft an engine. You got to throw down an assembler, put in a gear, 2 pipes, and steel. Make an engine, handcraft a pump, and pumps will do that for you. That is the way to push it out of one tank and into another. Anyone running version Silent Panther, so I had to fight the Million Black Panther Party. Anyone running 18.18 and having issues importing blueprints? No, I can't find the import blueprint at all on the GUI. It's in the quick tools. It's changed locations. This is very, 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 very common. I think this has been 4 weeks in a row we've got the same question. It's on the toolbar. Both your make a book and import a blueprint are both now on the toolbar. They are not in the B menu. Sneaky Halfling, do the mini tutorials not work? Can someone test this for me? Start a new game, do the first tutorial for the iron chest, and grab it out of the tutorial when you finish. When I start a new game, the tutorials list is green. It won't let me take the reward when I'm done. 1779, by the way. Gotta tell you, I've never done those tutorials. Just get in and go. My tutorials come from Twisted.tv/Clowntown. Ah! Okay. Thunder Goblin, always restarts at oil processing. That's my boy right there. Coal liquefaction, is it for if you just don't have enough ready access crude oil? I'm not seeing why you would want to use a limited resource to produce an otherwise unlimited resource. Great question. Sometimes you want to clear up a patch of coal, and you got to get coal out of your way. And so that's a great use case. The other use case is I have oil, in my main base. I have a bunch of coal in my main base, and the next crude patch is way over there through some biters. And so I don't have enough plastic to build my armor that I'm going to need and build all the guns I can get all the way over there. So I need to supplement my oil and my plastic and my sulfuric and all that to build up and tech up and train up in order to get to my next oil patch. That's pretty common. Otherwise, this is a great question. He has captured this correctly, is that when you do coal liquefaction, you are using a limited resource to produce an otherwise unlimited resource. And oil's basically unlimited, although it slows to a crawl, but you can, through beacons and through modules, you can basically make a patch infinite, although it'll be a low quantity infinite. But he's correct. It is a decision that could leave you without coal should you make it. It's a lot of times, most of the time we skip it and we'll go through a long multi-week playthrough and never throw down coal liquefaction, other than to either pull up some coal that we want to move out, or just because we got too much coal and we want to we're not using it elsewhere. Also, the amounts that you get are a little bit better with coal liquefaction. So, for example, if for some reason you need more heavy, if I recall, coal liquefaction, I think the mix of the oil derivatives you get out are heavier. That you get way more heavy than you would than you do from your crude. So you'll still if you need some more on the heavy side, it lets you have some more options through cracking because it leans heavy, whereas the crude leans a little bit middle and light. So there you go. Absolute Idiom says, I had a quick look, but couldn't find what I wanted. Where can I easily set up a multiplayer server and choose what mods a server to run? I'm happy to pay 5 to 10 quid per so or a month. You could go to nodecraft.com, enter the promo code ClownTown, save 30% on your first month. Okay. Mnull1 says, I'm really enjoying the Factorio 2 mod and would recommend it to any veterans out there looking for a new challenge. Me too. Is there a list somewhere of the recipes used in a structured XML or JSON format? Can the Lua export all of current recipes? Like being able to see recipes outside of the game when I'm AFK. Oh, good. Looky here. That's a great one. The Lua recipes prototype table has a ton of junk in it. I just did ingredients and products. That's interesting. Once I did, it was perfect. Oh, interesting. I may have to check this out. What a great one. If you want to see them outside of game, this is a good one. There's another mod that can do this for you in game called FNEI. You can go grab FNEI if you're having trouble looking through recipes and you want to see it. It'll put in an interface up in the upper left menu, FNEI will. But otherwise, outside of game, I never really thought about that. But there you go. Ben Axel says, should I play .18 and how can I? The answer is yes, if you're not running a bunch of mods. If you're running just vanilla, go for it. It's very, 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 very stable. More stable than any other game on planet Earth. I can pretty much say that with 95% confidence, I'll say. And how can I? If you're on the Steam version, which 91% of you are on Steam, right-click on Factorio, drop down to Properties, and look in the Beta tab on Properties. And you'll be able to opt in and just grab the latest 18.18, I think, is of this recording. If you're running vanilla, then go for it. Can recommend. Especially unless you're running version 12 or something crazy. If you're going from 17 to 18, your saves should be fine. No vowels. Probably Rock Wizard, but it's shown as Rock. What is the purpose of a circuit network in a factory? How does a constant combinator help your setup? There's a great class on this called Combinator Classroom by my buddy Shred Guy. It's made several versions ago, but it still holds up. Circuit network is mostly to control inventory. That's the number one use case. That's right. Mostly to control inventory levels in your base. So when items equal X, perform operation Y. Or when train condition equals X, deliver inventory over to Y. The other big use case is to control power, which might be considered some sort of inventory of power level. You can make gates to say, kick on this steam generator when this one runs out because I want to use solid fuel instead of coal, or I want to prioritize solar over coal steam, etc. All these conditions, it's for the overall purpose is for tighter control of your factory. The number one use case is probably inventory. The number two use case is probably power. Yeah. Constant combinator just adds a constant value to your setup. One way that we used to do this is, what we would do is we would have on a series of requester chests, instead of going through and setting each requester every time we wanted to change its value, we would have a constant combinator way over here that set a value, and then we would run a wire through all of the combinator chests, or all of the requester chests, so that I could go to one place and say I want to request 100 iron into this chest, and it would go and it would set all the requesters to that one signal. Or now I want to change these requesters to request 200 copper, and I could go in there and program the combinator, and it would go all the way down the line. That is a common use case for a constant combinator. But a constant is also, you can toggle a combinator on off, not just a value. So as an example, I used the constant combinator to toggle the switch to launch all of my 3,570 rockets all at once. JD, a mate! I used that to toggle the on switch to set a value to launch all of the rockets all at once. That's another use case for it. Magnonic says, train stacker station naming and itineraries. Rail-based base. Each factory or mining outpost has train stops for load and unload for a dedicated stacker. Okay. Presently, my train stations are always on. I'm not disabling with circuits. Do you name all the stacker stops across the same entire factory? Oh, do you have stackers inside? You have stops inside your stacker. Yeah, you don't need them there. Okay, so this one is stacker stops. I don't think I've ever used stops in a stacker. The one person that I did it one time at the request of, no. Deuces FTW is the only person I've seen use stacker stops within a stacker. And he came into my stream and did it himself, and he did it for UPS reasons. Otherwise, there are no. Otherwise, but it only improved that condition. Only improved it like 3 or 4% UPS. And it was a gigantic base. Stackers. Usually in stackers, I'm with 2 Rudes. I only use chain signals to do the weighting, and he says mind blown. Well, I have a rail tutorial. Magnonic, come to the rest of my YouTube channel and go check out the rail tutorial. I'll link it in the chat. Groovy. Walter Newton asks, so I'm pretty proud of my first world so far, but I am realizing it's time to upgrade inserters, belts, etc. As I approach setting up another branch research pack production, I've currently got a relatively efficient green, red, and light blue setup. So now how on earth does the upgrade planner work? And how do I robots? I've no clue how to set it up. For context, I haven't used circuits and stuff at all. You don't need it. I have to upgrade 3,000 belts and hundreds of other things. Step 1. Roboports covering all the stuff that you need. Space them out. Step 2. Make construction bots. 200 or so is plenty. 50 is probably good enough for the rest of your game. 50 to 200 robots, construction robots, throw them into the Roboport. 3, open up your upgrade planner and set a from and a to, a source and a destination, and do belts, yellow belts. I'm assuming you're going to red. Yellow to red splitters, yellow to red undergrounds, and yellow to red belts. 3 conditions. And then go to somewhere and drag your upgrade planner over your existing base. And you know it's working because there'll be these little yellow circles over your existing belts saying this is an upgrade signal. And then you'll wait a few seconds, and it has to be within the green section, the highlighted green section of the Roboport in that green zone. And if you wait a few seconds, you'll see this little construction bot go and plop, and then take the old one away, the old belt away. And in order for it to have somewhere to place that old belt, you need some yellow chests, some storage, logistic storage chests placed around. And they will bring the yellow belt back to the storage chest. And then you can either automatically or manually grab the yellow belts out of the yellow chest and throw them into the red belt production and recycle them up into more red belt. 1, 2, 3, 4. And don't do it yourself. Try and do it with robots. You can do it yourself, but then you have to walk all over every point of it. Lots of people replied, so there you go, Walter. You got good stuff. Or if you want to come by, just TV Access content will do it. Say hi. Wandering Shadow. How should I upgrade to electric furnaces? The size increase is annoying. Yep, rip them up. Best thing about Factorio is what you have done, you can always undo. Except for landfill. But everything else that you build, rip it up. Rip it up. The size increase is annoying. Yeah, it is. Rip it up and start over. You got to rework the whole thing. That's what's great about Factorio. Or in your next... Oh, here's another. I got another. Wandering Shadow, another thought for you. In your next playthrough, you can start your game over. But in your next playthrough, set aside an extra space for furnaces. Use long-handed inserters or output to a belt that goes onto the line. And build in that size ahead of time so that when you're ready to upgrade from a 2x2 furnace to a 3x3 furnace, as you're having problems right now, you'll have all the space that you need. Also, what you'll also find, Wandering Shadow, as your next step, I'll just give you a little bit of a warning. Also, save some room down the smelting line, because you'll be able to fit more furnaces on a blue belt and have a full blue belt line that'll run than you will a yellow belt. So not only save room width-wise down your smelting lines for the wider furnaces, save room lengthwise because your blue lines, blue belt electric furnace lines will be longer. It can sustain a longer row than you can. There's a question, why would you upgrade at all? You don't have to upgrade. But if you're running out of coal or you're sick of the pollution, that's a reason why you should upgrade to electric furnaces. Because number one, the steel furnaces output at the same crafting rate, but you got that whole burden of I got to keep feeding it coal the whole time, and I may need to do something different with my coal. Also, it has a less pollution per craft in an electric furnace than it does the stone furnace. 2 reasons to upgrade. But otherwise, if you don't care about either of those reasons, leave them as steel furnaces, same crafting rate. Options. What is a bag and supply 5? I set up my logistics construction bot production to feed them directly into the nearest RoboPort. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. That's going to be a problem. However, once the RoboPort fills up, yep. If I'm not commanding them to pave large tracts of land, huge tracts of land, or similar, the dormant bots block the new bots from being added to the network, and thus backing up my robot production line. Should I be introducing a steel chest as a buffer? Yes, that's a good option. Or is there a better way to get the bots in my network as they are produced? Look, you're going to regret having so many bots in your network at some point. So, I would recommend feeding in a very, very limited number of construction bots. You don't need them. You should probably prioritize the bots in your inventory first. My mega bases for building only have around 100. I'm talking gigabases, around 100 construction bots max. Logistics, you should buffer them into a chest, and then every once in a while look up to see if you're doing too much with logistic robots and the bots availability is 0 out of 1,000 or 0 out of 2,000, then you can add more incrementally manually. But I would recommend not feeding them in. I would output them to a blocked off chest and have 1,000 sitting around ready to go in case I need it. But for UPS reasons and probably just material reasons, you should not feed all of them into a direct RoboPort like this. It's my opinion, Bagginses. We hate the Bagginses. Salenta asks, I just want to make sure, but the demo of the game does not allow multiplayer, right? Was wondering if I can play with someone who hasn't bought the game yet, even in a limited scope. It's not exactly designed for multiplayer. Just play with them in free play. They'll get that tutorial / demo / new player experience is balls. And I hate it. And so does a few of the Factorio base staff. They hate it too. Just play with them in free play. I like the fact that you're trying to onboard a new player, but just play with them in free play. Shut off biters and do a walkthrough. Do a fun base with them. Birdier, kill it with fire, says, I'm trying to start a server for me and a small group of people. Good. Probably less than 10 at a time. How much RAM do I need? Would 1 gigabits be enough for a medium-sized base, or do I need to go higher? What I would, in addition to what Ski Geek says here, I would recommend maybe growing to a company and doing it. It'll be pretty cheap. And maybe you can go to nodecraft.com and enter in the promo code ClownTown. Save 30% on your first month. OKB1. This is a lot of questions from OKB1. Why is it that by default replays are disabled when making a new game? I lost my first rocket loader today, and I found it somewhat disheartening that I cannot replay this playthrough. Record it, and it's disk space. Disk space is the only thing. Also, it takes one game update or mod edition, so if you're playing on version 18, the unstable version, those replays are jacked anyway. Just record it. Get some free software such as OBS, Streamlabs OBS, some sort of capture thing, and record your sessions. It's way easier to do it yourself rather than try and use that playthrough. Broadcast it to YouTube, and YouTube will record it forever. Yeah. Only Bones says, I am designing a smelting station and have a couple questions. Here's a setup so far. Let's check. Wow. Okay, it looks like they come in from right to left, and the train is a 1-4-1, looks like, or maybe a 1-4. Okay, and then you blue belt it up there, and then it goes... Wow, okay. Hello, grid player. Okay. Plays with the grid on. Like a savage. Questions. On the top, I have 2 long trains bringing in ore. And the 10 locomotives are 1030. Oh, okay. So it comes in that way. Okay, so that what we were looking at was the output. Is done via 4 small bot networked each. Plates are loaded onto 1/4 trains, up to 5 of them per network. Okay, so it's a big trains with small trains. Well, I run into uneven loading of the small trains. I've seen videos of long train transferring its material to smaller ones, but do not remember whether I missed something important. Do I even need that many trains? The wagons will unload unevenly, yes. I'm not sure why. You can do it, but I would not have any expectations that you have a consistent ratio of input to output, because it looks like they're gonna do uneven. So the cars 1/4. You have 30. Okay, so you have 5 per network. So you have 20 cargo wagons and 20 cargo wagons on the output and 30 cargo wagons on the input. Even without modules, you're going to be off. But it shouldn't matter. I don't think there's a benefit to having, I can't really see a benefit to having one input ore and X number of output ores, or even 1-to-1. Shouldn't matter. But as your base matures, and as it goes from mega to gigabase, you'll end up using more UPS on more train pathing. Now it's way better than it was in version 15, 16, but still, train pathing does take up UPS, and just a number of trains, you'll have a delay. So think about the time it takes to load up train 1 to a stop, output train 2, train 3, train 4, and the time interchange between that, assuming it's one stop, versus one train pulls up, unloads everything, and loads out. And the cost of those two is just real estate. So if you can just have a bunch of add a bunch of real estate, offload all your trains at once, you don't really need to do something like this, where you have, and there's the in and there's the out. Okay, you don't really necessarily need to do a giant train and split it up. Use stackers to house your big trains. So instead of doing all this business, use all of this real estate to have a stacker that waits on your big trains going in and out. Keeping it real, Speed Module says, is Factorio artillery fire considered explosive or explosive damage? Yes, it's a combination of physical and explosives. And there's the wiki page. It does spell that out for you. Oh, there it is. Sorry, saw it. 500 physical, 500 explosion. Good. Zenareth says, just got to advanced oil processing. Good. I'm having trouble making lubricant. Lubricant is the easiest of all of them. Heavy to a tank. Just put a dang chemical plant on that tank and then another tank on the output of the chemical plant and do lube right through. That's the easiest one. Now, what you're really going to have trouble with is, what do I do with the light oil, is balancing them. I know I can use a petroleum gas to make stuff for plastic. I don't see any use for light oil other than solid fuel. That's a big use for it. And yes, you should make a priority system to answer. I think you almost answered your own question. You make a priority system that says, make it into solid fuel first, and then if I have any left over, crack it into more petroleum. And you can do that with one tank and one pump and one wire. And that's what I do in all mine. Yes, this solid fuel should be turned into rocket fuel for the rocket and for your trains. You can use that in your trains and your vehicles and stuff. But yes, all of your light oil, your number one use case for that is solid fuel. Flourisher SVK. Hey, noob question. Good. Glad you asked. But I'm on my first playthrough and thinking about moving everything I need to conveyor on conveyor belts to branch off whenever I need to craft something on one side. Bus base for the win. Found out soon enough that it's quite popular to make this main bus. Yep. And so I checked online to see how much of everything I should put on that. I've been working for the last couple hours on my oil processing operation. Good. Came back to main bus. See that the top 4 iron plates is struggling to stay full. Yes. Yep. Explore and exploit. Use your belt balancers to peel off. Don't try and just peel off one side. Use a full. If you're using 4, use a balancer system. You can find these probably online if you're already checking online. That takes in all 4 lanes, pulls one lane out, and then rebalances them. But in order to do a bus base, you got to scale up. So you gotta go from red belts from the miners to the smelters, and to fill them up, or you gotta have you gotta have more lines of smelting to get them all full. You gotta scale up, man. Put those big boy pants on and scale up to your bus base. But you're doing it right. Calibretto22 says, is there a mod to disable the flashing alerts in my map view? Console command. Beep beep. Unsteady Wish says, idiot question. Feel like buying the game. How many hours per dollar will you spend on the game? That's a great question. Anyone can answer. This is one of the greatest. Dollars per hour of return that you'll get on the internet. It's way better than a movie. It's way better than the return you get out of the Avengers. And the Avengers I'm a big fan of the Avengers, but. Think about a movie or a round of golf or any of that. Factorio, on a return on investment, your hours of entertainment per dollar, it's one of the best on the internet. But I think you knew it by asking the question. I'm at 3,900 hours, about to break 4K, and probably 3,600 of that has been on air. JE116, is there a calculator that's been updated for 0.18 recipes? Kirk McDonald, see the version for version 17. Guess what? Same. They're the same recipes. They have not changed. Use it for 17. The Kirk McDonald, I know this calculator. Use it, set it for 1760, and you're going to be fine. There was a change between early 17 and late 1760, and that's why Kirk has updated it, but Kirk has not updated it because it has not changed from 18. Space Kip says, so I've been using the Kirk McDonald calculator for some time now. It's always been correct for me. I'm starting to use beacons, and I'm wondering inputting something wrong. There is a quirk in that. You have to... There's a specific beacon column and a module column, so you have to there's a setting in here, and Steve Traub is correct. You don't tell it the number of beacons, you tell it the number of modules in beacons, and then you'll be fine. So I have a bit of a noob question. Ay caramba. So when I watch YouTube videos, I see them clicking on an object they have already placed. By doing so, they automatically have that object selected. Q is my default to grab a ghost. Yeah, you hover over an item, you hit Q, which is your default, and you grab either the ghost or the item if you have one in your inventory. Also, you can copy paste like with the blueprint, but Q is the single version of that. All right, thank you for being part of FFF Review and Reddit for April 17th, 2020. If you have a comment, leave it in the comment section below, or come by Friday night, Twitch.tv/content. We can ask questions. You can do this with me. Also, if you like this sort of thing, like, subscribe, ring that bell so it notifies you when I post a video. And all the links of all the things that I've talked about today will be down in the description below. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.